Yo dudes, it is Blake from Green Knuckles Lacrosse, and as you can tell by the title, we are finally reviewing the StringKing Mark 2F with the StringKing 4F mesh. I purchased this head and mesh off of the StringKing website, and I also selected the option to have this head strung up with a mid pocket. I did this to see if their string jobs will be good for face-offs, for anyone who just wants to pick up the head and start playing with it, and I can assure you, you will not be disappointed. Here's a nice little close-up of the string job. Nothing too crazy, just a lot of SIs, doubles, and singles. Nothing crazy at all. The only adjustments I made to the pocket throughout the 2-week testing period was the shooting strings. There was a shooting string right below this one, but I got rid of it because it was driving me nuts. And the other adjustment I made was the bottom string. I just moved it down 1 row of diamonds because it was just a little bit too high for my personal liking. When unboxing the head, the first thing you'll find is, what the heck is that? The first thing you'll find is the head in a plastic bag along with the 3 throat lock screw things. Under the head is a nice little StringKing bag, some StringKing stickers, and of course your receipt. Now onto the comparisons between the Mark 2F and an STX Dual. The scoop on the 2F blows the Dual scoop right out of the water. StringKing is notorious for making great scoops, and they definitely didn't come up short in making the scoop in this head. The style of scoop in the Mark 2F is your typical StringKing scoop that you'll find in any other Mark head. Next is the stringability, and this one's pretty obvious. The 2F has an insane amount of sidewall holes and bottom string holes to allow for easy pocket customization. Most face-off heads have sidewall holes placed strategically throughout the head to lessen the chance of the head cracking. And with the Mark 2F, StringKing pretty much said, to heck with that, we trust our plastic so much that we use to make with this head that we can put 1,000 sidewall holes in here and not one of them will crack. Speaking of the plastic, this stuff is phenomenal. It holds its shape very well, and the greatest part is its ability to snap right back in place. Most heads stay kinked after a face-off, and it makes it extremely difficult to pick up a GB or pretty much be a lacrosse player after the face-off. With the 2F, the head snaps right back into place and allows you to be a threat downfield. Another great thing about the plastic in the Mark 2F is I was able to take this head right out of the package and play a full game the very next day with no breaking in process, no boiling, nothing. The head was ready to go right out of the box and it already felt broken in. Final thing about the plastic is the warping of the head. This is what the head looks like after playing 5 full games, which is equivalent to over 100 live reps. And not to mention all the practice reps that I took throughout the 2-week testing process. Honestly, I think the head did a tremendous job holding its shape. Sure, I had to play softball in it eventually, but for how thin the head is, I think it held up very well. Which brings me to my next point, the thickness of the Mark 2F. In short, and pretty much you can see it right here, the Mark 2F is a very slimmed down version of the Dual. StringKing definitely cut down the bulkiness out of your typical face-off head, and they definitely slimmed down the profile from all different angles. The throats of these two heads are pretty much identical. The only difference is the whole 3 throat lock screw system thing that they got going on here. This feature seemed like overkill. There was too many holes in the very top of the shaft. It just seemed like an accident waiting to happen. With that being said, I just used 1 normal self-tapping screw on the lower back of the head, and it worked just fine. So now that all the major specs of the Mark 2F are covered, I'm now going to show you guys a very quick and brief little flex test with the head. I'll have my reason as to why it was a quick flex test right after this. Alright, so I'm hoping that most of you guys noticed that the 2F pretty much flexes very, very similar to the Dual. I was reading online somewhere about how people are saying that this is a combination of the Dual and the CEO, and throughout the whole testing process, I didn't think this flexed anywhere close to a CEO. Maybe if we're talking about how thin the actual head is itself, maybe that is some sort of correlation with the CEO. But other than that, this flexed just like a Dual. But to get back on track, I didn't feel the need to include a very long flex test because it just flexes so much like a Dual. Now at this point in the video, I usually do a list of the pros and cons for the specific head that I'm reviewing, but with the 2F, I haven't found one con. Every aspect about this head is great, and to be short, this is pretty much a slimmer, more flexible, and more versatile version of an STX Dual. So let's now get into the 4F mesh testing. This stuff is great. It's super thin and it's just awesome for face-offs. When I first started using this head, it seemed like the back of the mesh was coated with something that made it super slick and allowed the ball to come flying, I mean flying out of the back of the head after a face-off. I assume this was StringKing's attempt to lessen the chances of the ball getting stuck in the back of the head. But towards the end of the 2-week testing, I kind of found that the slick coating went away. I'm not sure if that's because the head was just getting more pinched or something was going on, but the ball definitely wasn't flying out like it used to within that first week of testing. But since the mesh is already so thin, I had very little problems with the ball getting stuck in the back of the head. The only time it got stuck was on a few occasions when the head was just super pinched from a long face-off. Surprisingly enough, the mesh has a great shelf to it, destroys a bubble test with ease, and is very textured on the inside, so you can have good control of the ball when you're doing more than just facing off. The only downside that I found with the mesh is, I don't know if it's because of how thin the mesh is or because of the coating on it, but originally when I first started facing off, I found that when you were defending the swipe, the ball could move from the bottom of your stick all the way up to the shooters almost with ease. I don't know if it was because of the way I was facing off that day, but it just seemed like the ball was able to travel up the head and get away from me a lot easier than usual. But other than that, this mesh was great. Alrighty folks, after taking 100 plus game reps with this setup, I have concluded that the Mark IIF along with the 4F mesh is one deadly weapon. This head definitely isn't meant for the guy who likes to fold his opponent's head back like the Under Armour Command X. This head likes to collapse under your opponents with ease and still stays very strong down below the flex points. Also, this setup is by far the best face-off stay-on option on the market. I've had numerous teammates come up and use this head, passing and catching with it, and every single one of them said that they could, without a doubt, use this as a field setup. StringKing pretty much took all of the issues with using a face-off head as a midfielder head, which is pretty much the scoop, the stringability, the durability, the warping, whatever, and fortified every single one of them. So to answer the question, will I add the StringKing Mark IIF to my gear bag? Absolutely, without a doubt. In fact, this actually might be my starter from here on out for the rest of the year. StringKing definitely knocked this one out of the park, and I highly recommend this setup for facing off at any level. And that wraps up for this week's Fogo Friday. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any more questions on the StringKing Mark IIF or the 4F face-off mesh, or any questions in general, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. Be sure to like and share this video, subscribe to our channel, and if you haven't already, check us out on Instagram at Green Knuckles Lacrosse. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next week. Make face-offs great again. Till then, kids, get them dirty.